Recording. Okay, let's just start. And this is we are recording this, so it will be on view through the NAU College of Arts and Letters official YouTube website, and you can actually watch it later if you missed it. All right. Look. Hi everyone here. All right. Welcome. Thanks for joining the symposium, Exploring History and Identity, Contemporary Media Art from Korea. This is 3-day long symposium. We invite 7 people from South Korea. Sang Lee is a US resident, but he's originally from South Korea. We really invite literally the best, the leading contemporary media and artists and designers from South Korea. And this symposium is supported by first Northeast Asia Council at the Association of Asia Studies, also through Korean foundations and NAU and Scrollbar. And thank you for the support. And without further ado, let's introduce. First, my name is Jae Lee. I'm assistant professor of new media art here in Northern Arizona University, and we also have Kate Kyungmi Byun. She's a professor of interior design here at NAU. And now today we have Sang Lee. He's first I would introduce him as he was a principal designer in Microsoft for several years. Now he recently moved to the YouTube. So I think it's a proper way to introduce for you, right? All right.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's begin with Sang's lecture. Thank you. And
Sure.
one moment. If you have any question at any time, please leave your questions on chat if you're online. And also, if you're in classroom, just stay here, and we'll gather the questions at the end of the lecture. Is that okay? All right. Let's begin.
Right on. So, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me, and really glad to meet you all. Even though it's like online conference, I'm so honored to be invited to this conference.
And we appreciate it if you can speak a little louder.
Yeah, I'll shout from here. Okay, so let me share my screen and let me know if you guys can see the slide.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, today's title of this the keynote is the story of a Korean designer in the US. Subtitle is Attitude is Everything. But I was thinking a lot what subject or item I should share today. I heard from Professor Jae-wook that this session is about Korean and like Korean contemporary art. I'm a huge fan of those kind of art and in art in general. But by all means, I'm not an artist. So I was thinking, what is a unique story that I could share with you guys, like students in Northern Arizona University? And I thought, like sharing my story of survival, not a success, as a foreign designer from Korea who is currently working in USA, might be something interesting for you guys. Because I'm one of the types of persons you're going to meet and interact with now in the class or after your programs at your college or university, because you will meet someone like me. So not sure this is a crazy story like the Wolf of Wall Street type of deal, but hope it gives you something to think about at the end. And like Jae-wook said, if you have any questions or any thoughts you want to share, please raise your hand at the end and then let me know if you have any question. Cool. Let me go to the second slide. So let me introduce real quick about myself. Hello, I'm Sang. My original name is Hangin Isangin. We usually go last name go first, and so Lee is my last name, but the Sangin is my first name. But I usually go by just Sang. That's easier to remember. And I kind of like the sound of Sang, or Sangster. Actually, that's my nickname too. And like Jae-wook said, I currently work at the YouTube, actually Google, but the YouTube is kind of product that I'm currently on. And YouTube ads is more specific, a team that I'm working on. and previously worked at the Microsoft Cloud AI studio as a principal design manager. I was running a Fluent Design studio at that time. And before that, I was a head of design team at Deloitte Digital New York studio. And before that, I was a product innovation designer at RGA, which is a design or digital agency. And through the kind of, more than 10 years of experience, I was lucky enough to be, my works are featured in many kind of magazines, and I was able to get some awards, like design awards, like Cannes Creative Competition. And one of my like hobby is kind of writing things. So I was able to publish 3 books over last like 4 or 5 years. So these are my books that I kind of published in Korea, only in Korean. So you cannot read if you're not Korean, but hopefully one day it will translate in English to kind of publish here. But it's all about design and how I kind of organize or develop the design methodologies and thoughts around the process and that kind of things. So let's get into the session. So what design means to you? That's kind of questions that I ask people a lot. But design could be something like you can call it as a process, or design could be an outcome and result, like a iPhone. We call it like it's good design, right? But I really like this phrase. Design is not a destination; it's a journey. I really like that because it has ups and downs, like life. Sometimes the process of making it, it's really exciting. Sometimes it's really you feel frustrations when you are making it happen, right? And you don't know it's gonna success or not, right? So there are lots of ups and downs in design. So I was a designer. Like I said earlier, I like to share my journey as a designer who lives in the USA. So let's begin. The first chapter, know nothing about design, but I wanted to be a designer. When I was in high school, in Korea, there are 3 types of students. If you're in a high school, 3 types, meaning one is you're a kind of literature or business major. We call it 문과. And second is science or math major. We call it 이과. And the others. The others means it's funny categorization, but they combine the sports major and art major all together. There's no correlation between those two, but somehow they feel like they should categorize in one bucket. It's still to this day, I think it's still going on, but I think it's silly. But anyway, when I was in high school, I was a 문과 student, which is like literature or business was the kind of main thing I wanted to learn when I actually go to the university. But when you were in a high school and preparing for entering university, you kind of have to work on your writing. So at the time I was reading a lot of newspapers and articles. So one day I found this kind of piece of article from 조선일보. 조선일보 is one of the top, not say it's the best or top, but anyway, most popular, news company in Korea. And I saw this article about Giorgio Armani, the fashion designer. It was nothing special. It was just almost like an introductory article about him, what he's doing, what's he's good at. It's not that long, but the image you see over there, it's kind of shocked me. I never thought till that moment, I never thought the old man could look cool like him. This is a real story, because in Korea, when I was in high school, like when was it, more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago or something, and 50, 60 or 70 years old guys, you cannot imagine they look cool. that was the situation back then, but it's different now. But it kind of shocked me in a way that I wanna, I wanna be that guy when I'm old. So I looked into what he's doing. He's a designer. So that's the first, you know, momentum that I started thinking about. I should be a designer. But it was too late in the game, like, almost too close to the, university examinations, the entering the university. So I took the Korean SAT. I wanted to go to a, like all of the like other Korean high school students. I wanted to go to a really top schools, but I failed. So I had to do a retry to get in the good school. But when I tried second time, I wanted to give it a shot to be a designer. So I started preparing the design major, and I was able to get in 국민대학교, Kookmin University with third attempt. I failed at second attempt because design major preparation, like it's the actual exercise you have to take, and requires tremendous amount of the skills and efforts. Like it's crazy amount. So, but I was lucky enough to get in with the third attempt. So, and I was doing industrial design major there. After a year, like I'm not sure you guys are familiar with the Korean situation, but we have to go to our army as a duty. So I went to a Korean army after a year, and I kind of felt like thirst when I was there. I feel like it's not enough. So I wanted to experience more bigger and exciting things. Second chapter, never lived in US, but wanted to live in New York City. When you are not from New York or USA, only way you kind of experience New York City is a kind of, the movies, right? Movies or TV shows. Of course, Spider-Man or Gatsby or Once Upon a Time in America or Gangs of New York for sure. These kind of movies like get me the kind of fascinating, almost like a hype about the city. So I really wanted to go. Like I don't know why. So I was able to get in the School of Visual Arts, New York City, with the 1 year of preparation. It was great. I thought I could be anything. I could, like Jay-Z's Empire State of My Mind. I can make, if I can make it here, you can make it anywhere. That's kind of vibe that I had at the time. But as soon as I got there, I realized when I was in Korea, I was like this. This is kind of one of the character from the very popular Korean animation, but he's a frog in the small pond. So I was that guy. I was kind of a frog in the small pond. But in New York City, what you are like, you are the Nemo, and you are surrounded by sharks and many different types of creatures, like crazy amount and crazy diversity, right? And yeah, speaking of diversity, if you visit Korea, you will get to see a lot of people looking like me, because Korea is, I mean, it's getting better, getting more diverse and diverse, but still majority of like people are like Korean natives. So not that diverse country, but New York City, you can see all kinds of races, ethnicities, and different cultures, and you get to see everyone there. And also, I was able to learn a real design, because my teachers actually are designers from like MoMA or Panagrams, and one of my teacher at senior year, Paula Share. I mean, met her, even met her like, 3 or 4 years ago on the street. She still remember me. So I was like surprised. Hey, Paula. She was dragging her dog, and then like she was having a hard time because her dog was very big, and he or she, the dog wasn't like didn't want to listen to her. So on that moment, I was saying hi to her. So she was like, "Oh, you were in my class." Yeah, I was. How are you doing? So that was a kind of last interaction with her. But yeah, she was the designer behind the Citigroup logo. And if you haven't watched the documentary Abstract, I strongly recommend you to watch that. It's great. She is one of the, she featured in one of the episode 1 or 2 maybe. So I was experiencing, while I was in School of Visual Arts, I was experiencing a lot of like, diversity, and kind of open my eyes and learn from this kind of legendary designers, and graduate a lot of, for a lot of people, it kind of feel like celebrations or exciting things, right? But I graduated around this time when Lehman Brothers fall, and when global economic crisis happened. So I graduated around this time. So I had to submit more than 100 resumes, literally more than 100. And at that time, uh, it wasn't super. I mean, even for a lot of design agencies, they're not super digital natives, meaning like their website still, like at that time, it wasn't good, or some, I mean, it's not, ideal situation to communicate through the online at the time. At the same time, people don't really want to hire people. Plus, I'm a foreigner. They if they want to hire me, they need to sponsor a visa, meaning it makes me get a job extra hard. So, but I was trying really hard to get in or selected, to be a real designer. And I was really lucky, I should say, to get into RGA. RGA was actually the the company that I really wanted to get in, and I was surprised they replied to my email. And the email that I sent, the resume email, like the submission email, was, if I have to, if I have another opportunity to send it again right now, I should rewrite it, because it was very, like, everything was wrong, because you don't know, you're doing it for the first time, so you don't really know how to write the email at that time. I mean, when I try to get into the design agency. So this is the company's, like, building at the time, the RGA. So after I graduate, after more than 100 resumes, I got into this design agency. Chapter 3, small fish in the ocean again. So I thought graduation would give me a lot of fortune and a lot of exciting or great things, but in reality, it's not. Every single steps were hard for me, because as a designer, as a foreign worker, there are tons of things I had to overcome, because I don't know what's going on. I didn't know. I really didn't know. For example, like, if you are educated in US, like from younger age, you are very get exposed to this kind of environments where you exchange your ideas and feedbacks or perspectives, whatever, very freely, right? And it's encouraged, right? You're supposed to participate very actively if you wanna, contribute. But in Korea, culturally, it's very top down. If you say something during the middle of, like, your senior or higher up guys are doing something or saying something, uh, trust me, like 20 years ago, South Korea, you get punched. No, it's exaggerations, but that's the kind of culture I was in. But not that people want you to punch me in the face, not like that. But that's the kind of how I felt. Like when I was a junior designer from Korea, when I got first job in RJ. So nobody scared me, but I was scared because I didn't know how to participate or react as a Korean junior designer. So one day somebody reached me out and said, "You are the quietest person I've ever met." And I mean, almost a year, I didn't say a word. So, but not that I wanted to do that. It kind of, that was the only option for me because I was scared. So that's all. Scared to say a word or make some sound. But I still want to contribute, and I'm not a shy person, like by my nature. So because of the gap, it kind of made me take this painkiller every day because I was super stressed out. I had a headache every day. This is me like giving you a advice from somebody who done it. Don't do it. If you take this kind of medication every day, it kills you. So what happened was I got the gastric ulcer. So it gave you a really, really hard time. Like it gives you I mean, different level of pain you could get with this because your stomach is literally, like grinded inside your body. So 24/7 nonstop. So I had to take a lot of medications to treat that. Like I ate tons of cabbage, right? But it's all from stress. Like it doesn't really matter what I eat. Like, it's all caused by stress. So I figured I needed to change something. So what I did was finding small wins. So first thing I did was wake up 5 a.m. to do something. Like no matter what, day or date is, or because like no matter what the weather looks like, you wake up 5 a.m. and get out. And what I did was, the wake up and kind of brush my teeth and went out and walked to the near the coffee shop near the office. This is the coffee shop's picture, the Cafe Grumpy on the 37th or 39th Street, maybe. Anyway, I went there because it opened early, and then I was reading a lot of newspapers and reading a design article. Studying English was something I did, and I started writing my observation note. Like, great thing about New York is full of inspiration, full of things to observe. So when I sit on the inside of the MTA train, I open my whatever notes app, write something. If I see something cool, write something. And in the meeting, I just decided just make any sound. It doesn't have to be an opinion. Just make a sound like right. It may not mean anything to the people, but it meant something for me. So gradually, those small wins accumulated. So I was able to participate a lot of cool projects like this Miyamo Music app, and this kind of evolved into the Apple Music because it got evolved into the Dr. Dre's music by Beats by Dre, and then Beats by Dre and Dr. Dre kind of company acquired by Apple, and then it got translated into the Apple Music now. So please thank me if you're using Apple Music. Just kidding. All right. And this is the Samsung.com global website we designed. I was one of the lead designer there. And then some of the works like Nissan, actually over 3 years at RGA, I felt like I became a real designer. So I was able to perform a designer, like things that designer should doing. And one day, I received the call, and then someone from the call said he's from Deloitte. So I told him I'm not interested to buy anything from you. But he said, no, 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 I'm not selling anything. Then who are you? He said he's from Deloitte. So what the Deloitte is? I had no idea who you guys are. But I quickly Googled it, and Deloitte is one of the top consultancies like McKinsey, the Boston, or PwC and Deloitte. Those are the top 4 consultancies in the world. So they're one of them. So Deloitte Digital is their digital, sector. They wanted to kind of grow at that time, so they wanted me to join their Deloitte Digital to grow the business. So I was like, cool, where are you guys? I asked, and they said Seattle. At the time, Deloitte Digital's headquarters was Seattle. So I don't think I have money or time to go there. But they said, no, no, no. We will fly you out here to meet us. And you can stay here 3 or 4 days. We will pay for the hotels or like flight tickets or even food and Uber. I was like, yes, free kind of vacation. So I went there, not to interview these guys, actually. I went there to get the free vacation. But the thing is, Seattle, this is the picture of Seattle. This is not Photoshop. This is what you get in a good, in the night, the good weather. I really liked Seattle. And I was kind of tricked because I visited the May. May is the best season of the Seattle. City is actually super beautiful and well balanced. Not as a crazy city as New York or nature is great and city is well balanced. So I accepted their offer as an associate creative director. They offer me a ACD, which is I was just I promoted to just the regular designer from junior, but ACD is 2 or 3 levels above what I was when I was in RGA. I really can't. I mean, this was great. Thanks to Deloitte, but it was a kind of lucky for me. Usually, you're not getting that kind of deal. But I don't know. I should have not accepted this deal or not, because I didn't consider the weight of manager. Because if you're a designer, only thing you care is me, myself. The things that matter are just your performance, your delivery. But the manager, manager has to think about the team and the client. I have no idea how to deal with that kind of situations. And I mean, seriously, I had no skill sets as a manager at the time. So I was almost alone there because I didn't perform well as a manager. People started thinking like, oh, this guy from a coveted design agency and seems like doesn't know what to do. I mean, that's my interpretation of what people think about me. Assumptions, not that people really said or think that way, but I felt super frustrated because clearly I wasn't delivering as a manager. But the only reason I was able to survive was I had a confidence about when it comes to the actual design something, I can be better than anyone. Actually, that's what I been focused till I got this job, and then I was really good at it. So I was able to deliver from that sense, but as a manager, I failed 100%, like crazy level fail. So I thought I needed the turning point to, because I couldn't live like this in a way that, I'm just performing only a half or even less than half. I needed a turning point. And one day I overheard from my COO of the company saying, we are going to open a New York office. So I sent an email to our CEO and COO that, yeah, count me in. I want to be a founding member of that New York City studio and grow the team from there. And yeah, so I went back to NIC, New York City again, after just only spent a year in Seattle in 2014. And this was my desk at the time. Yeah, practice makes fucking perfect. That's the sentence, phrase that I really liked. And this is the view from my office. And later room is actually have a even better view. But it's the building we are on was located in the heart of Wall Street. Do you remember the scene from the Wolf of Wall Street that like Matthew McConaughey and DiCaprio is eating lunch and then singing this kind of song? Yeah, that view, I I saw that view 2 years, every day, because it was 50th floor of the heart of Wall Street. It was great. So I was thinking I really should do something because I'm a super shitty manager. I cannot live like that anymore. So I started studying again. So I start like learn like books like Thoughts on Design, the Paul Rand. If you're interested, is the one of the uh you know like one of the legendary designers. He's actually a design godfather of Steve Jobs. And when Steve Jobs created the next computer, uh, Steve Jobs asked him to do a logo for the company. And IBM and lots of like tech giants were like, oh, classic Ford logo. He's done it, like that kind of like symbolic work as well. So if you're interested, Paul Rand is the guy you should read about. And yeah, I started writing something, and also I started watching all the presentations or keynotes from the innovators or legendary designers. Thanks to YouTube, you can find everything there. Not that I work for YouTube right now. I'm not promoting it because of that. Because YouTube, you can literally find everything you're looking for. So I Google or YouTube, like search in the YouTube, lots of like presentations that like Steve Jobs is making was made like, or Satya Nadella from Microsoft, or like really good designers, like, or listening podcast. I was really got into those kind of things, and with this kind of practice, I worked really hard. So I started seeing some patterns. So I started organize things, like there are always three types, like three steps when it comes to the design process. Not sure it applies to other design, but at least if you're are on the digital side, like kick off discovery, scope define, design, review, deliver, and iterate. This is the standard process you will get. And lots of like definition of words, the ideation, the process, collaboration. It could be categorized in a way, and also you could see some patterns. So I started writing those, and as a result of it, that's the books that I showed you earlier, 3 books. So things that like, I kind of organize my thoughts and the patterns and processes that I documented. It's all there. And so with the Deloitte Digital, I was able to participate a lot of cool projects like Tiffany.com or UBS applications and Walmart's digital transformations or TJ Maxx's app, something like that. One day, I received a message through the LinkedIn, and they said they're from Microsoft. I know Microsoft, so I didn't ask, like, what you guys sell. So they actually asked me if I'm interested to join Microsoft Cloud AI Studio. So I met them, learned about the team. I really liked, and they liked me. So I came back to Seattle 2018. This is the kind of logos of the product groups within the Cloud AI Studio, Microsoft, and these logos from my team as well. Anyway, Microsoft has a big studios. One is Windows, one is Offices, one is Xbox, and Cloud AI is the same level as those guys. Very big, but you really don't know because you don't get to see them often because all of them are B2B. Surprisingly, Microsoft's business have almost 90% on business side. What you see is just less than 10% of what Microsoft is doing. So Cloud AI sector is the most profitable and then one of the biggest studio in Microsoft, but normally people don't know what that is. So it's kind of irony. But I was always fascinated by B2B world and what cloud and AI could do. So I joined them, and this was the team that I managed, like almost like 14 or 15 people, like from UX UI side, icons and illustrations and contents. And I had the 2 PMs with work with me. And with this number of people, we kind of help almost 100 products under Cloud AI Studio. So volume and scale we dealt with was crazy amount. But what I was focusing with these sectors, UX, UI, icons, and contents, is design system. Design system is all about creating rules. So creating like Lego blocks so that people can create whatever they kind of possibly imagine. It could be a spaceship, cars, the buildings, it could be anything. But in the beginning, when I started with the new environment, always ups and downs. My hiring manager, someone who hired me, said, your role is building a constructive design system for the Microsoft Cloud AI Studio. But after 2 months, that person left. I was like, what? What am I supposed to do? I felt like I'm a baby elephant in the middle of nowhere, around me, nothing but just, I don't know, lions or tigers. So many crazy creatures around me. So I had to become a survival mode. Survival mode means you need to do something to survive. So when I joined, about the time that I joined, what happened in the Microsoft was reimagine or reshaping all their product icons. Like almost like in Microsoft, more than 400 products there. So again, you only get to see the new icons from the Edge or the Xbox or Offices, right? So around that time, the Office launched their new product icons. this was their new set. And when I looked at our one of the product group, the Power Platform product group's icons, it looks very much outdated. So at that time, I had no team, just by myself. Started doing something. I started annotating what is what, and I started drawing with the pen and pencils, and started, developing more design language with illustrations. So I was able to ended up pulling this together, and this, I was wanting to make sure it looks good on the page with the team. So it was actually really bring a good, like, super positive impact to the studio. So I was able to making my team, gathering more team members. This was a speaking of our icons and illustration, this was the team that I received while I was working through the Power Platform. Those people are added. And also, like I showed you earlier, the UX UI teams started forming. So I had few guys there, and then started forming the icons and illustration. But I'm just continuing the story about icons illustrations. After I deliver that thing, I wanted to do something about creating rules. But at that time, C++, Cloud and AI studios, icon design, they had no rules. So the team and I started working on the playbooks, coming up with the kind of structure pieces, hierarchy, and then the cohesions, what makes cohesions, and the product icons, right? Is the after that, these are the icons that we created with those rules. So it gets a bigger success for the team. So we ended up doing the Azure, the suite level icon redesign. Azure is second biggest cloud infrastructure of the world. Amazon is the first. Amazon's AWS has a 33% market share, and Microsoft Azure 24% market share. It's the second biggest. And we had this logo before. So, and this is how our other, like this, like Windows and Office level, and Azure is same level as these guys at Dynamics. And so we wanted to do something with this Azure icon. So with the many explorations here with the colors, this is the final design we introduced. And let me quickly show you the design, launching video.
A feeling. A dream.
A voice.
A blank page. A line of code.
A prototype.
A pivot. A realization.
A change. A collaboration.
A breakthrough.
A possibility made real.
A for everything, for anything, for good.
A trusted place where innovation lives.
A cloud. Microsoft Azure.
After more than 3 years, like 3.5 years, more than 3.5 years, not more than 4 years, right? Working for Microsoft, I received the message through the LinkedIn again. They said they're Google and asked me if I'm interested to join Google. So 2022 and 5 rules are the last chapter, title of the last chapter. So I joined Google to build a design system for YouTube ads. I joined like 2 months ago. I'm pretty new, so nothing much to share with you guys today. But I just kind of wanted to close this session with the 5 things that help me to survive, not success. Again, I'm not a someone who is super successful. I'm just a survivor. So I just kind of wanted to share these 5 things that help me to grow and survive. So first, challenge is a good thing. Second, the grow from the challenges. And third, document and organize your learning. And fourth, leverage and apply what you learn. And the number 5 is what, what Bruce Lee said: "Be water, my friend." If you like water, you can be anything. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much. Let's see. Do you have any questions so far from class? Any question? Yeah, go ahead. Speak louder for him to hear.
My question was going to be like how long the
I cannot hear you.
Yeah, speak
Sorry.
louder. Come closer.
Yeah, come close.
So my question was going to be like how long you started your journey, because I know you said you started working with Google in 2022, so kind of like when you would say it started.
Well, as a designer,
Yeah.
I mean, I started my journey, I should say 2002, maybe, because I mean, that's maybe even earlier. The first like news article that I saw, the Giorgio Armani, was actually, it's even earlier, 2000. So that's the beginning of the journey, I should say, as a designer.
So it's about 20 years.
Yeah.
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 Well, how do you imagine yourself in 20 years?
There.
Right. Any other questions? Any other questions so far? I actually do have a questions. Tell me about the process. For example, when you as a team, and you're the leader as a team, and when you make a logo for a drawer, for example, tell me about the process. Like how long it take, what are the starting point, how many ideas you get to the final logo. Like, yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, design the logo. You can design the logo in 3 minutes, but the thing is, execution could take like in a couple of minutes. But the important pieces are who is for the stakeholders, what do we need to deliver, what it takes to build, and what surfaces it will appear. So many things involved when you design something for a company that is dealing with large scale operations or whatever. So the thing is, something like Azure, it takes a year, full year
to make the logo. I mean,
yeah, but the thing
wow.
is, other logos, like small icons and whatever, like I said, you could design something in 3 minutes, right? But it's not about execution. It's about finding right context and finding right areas to apply, and then persuading the people who are involved.
So what are the starting point, and how do you start, and how do you do research, and maybe have how many ideas you have, and how do you choose the final one?
So starting something like redesigning Azure, you have to get a Q sign from the CEO, right? So the CEO of Microsoft probably think that we should move on to the new chapter. That kind of triggers that kind of in a project, because I mean, even if there are lots of not that great looking design out there, designer by themselves, it's really hard to change things. So I mean, designers type of job, but the seniority is is different. Designer could be a CEO, right? But CEO is not a designer. Like sometimes people, I mean, maybe it's not something you ask, but sometimes people confused with the types of job and then how high they are, right? So, but some projects I can initiate by myself. But some projects, somebody higher up have to initiate. But the thing is, regardless of who initiated, designer's job is to kind of connecting the right dots and then finding solutions, and then showing it to the people in the right way. Meaning, it could be when it comes to the ideas in the beginning, lots of ideas thrown, and there's no limit about how many ideas that people could share each other. But the thing is, as a director or manager's job is to kind of when to stop ideating and when to move on to the next stage. Let's say we explore 100 different concepts. You have to make a call, which directions are more compatible against what, and then showing what we are showing to the senior leaderships and why we are showing it. So that's kind of like designers, like design manager or director's job to kind of make the pieces moving and tied together.
Nice. Thank you. Any other questions so far? Yeah, come closer. So you said you have to, when you create a logo or something, you kind of have to make it go towards what the higher ups kind of want. Even though you have to do that, do you still feel like you have creative freedom to make something that you're happy with yourself?
Depends. Not every time you will smile. Sometimes you will be frustrated by the result or the decisions that always bigger fish, right? So the people in the executive level or chief level decide something that directions that you might disagree. It happens a lot, but work as a professional, you don't get wins all the time. But the thing is where you're heading, overall direction. So if you're good, you'll be able to persuade those guys in the right direction where you believe it's the right. But sometimes you may not read the context or direction well. You have to accept that because everyone has to accept that you're not perfect. That's how I feel. Sometimes I'm frustrated, but after a certain period of time, second thought, maybe I was wrong. That happens too. So, but overall, if you're happy with the overall direction, that's maybe right way to think about. So,
All right. Actually, this is my third time or second time invite him. My first time in NAU. I used to teach at SB in New York City before I came here in NAU, and I invited him actually, and actually he was talking about two different types of job he's worked for, and actually extra job is not a job to get an income, but he actually doing a lot of things outside of his own activities. I mean his own like main job. Yeah, tell me more about that. I think you've done a lot of things. I mean, you write a book, series of books. You made an app for political, whatever, like a motivation. What do you call it? Yeah, I think he does a lot of extra things that he can feel a creative, freedoms for himself. Also, you have to, face the reality.
right. Because side projects or personal projects has no limit. Like, it can go much as you want to push. But so that's why I did a lot of side projects, like writing books, and nobody's gonna I mean, after you publish the book, some people can critique you, but that happens. But nobody blocks you to do that. Like, publishing the articles on the internet, your blog, nobody's gonna stop you unless you're saying something wrong. But yeah, creative freedom, a uh, job is something that, like, especially design major. Some people from my old days, some people told me, I mean, asked me that, am I happy because you're doing whatever you want to do? Like, no, that's your stereotype, your wrong perception. I'm not doing things that the things that only I want to do. That's not like, my job description looks like. So
We have a question from Professor Kate Yan.
Hi, can you guys hear me well?
yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks for sharing your story. Since I'm in interior design, I'm also the practitioner as an architect and designer before coming to the education. I really enjoyed the process of your exploration about your journey and all of the processes, because I agree that design is a process, and also the iteration we usually do by reviewing and iterating. So I like the way all of the presentation when I listen to, like, oh my God, yeah, I'm on the same page. Yes, yes. Which was really fun to listen to your journey. I can see that you have jobs, and you also did a lot of challenging and work as a designer. But I think you had a dream at the very beginning when you started your journey. And do you have a big dream outside of your job or something else?
Having a nice house is my dream. Of course, I mean, but the thing is, I mean, what I dreamed of is not a becoming a rich designer. What I wanted to be is a someone who you could say, yeah, that guy's cool, even though he's old. Like, you don't really have to, like, something like that. Kind of lifestyle. That's something I admire. But it's really important because if you wanted to be a super rich, like a billionaire, I don't think design major is a right, category for
So true.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
because if
agree.
you want to be rich like the Wall Street guys, you have to be a, like, the business major or whatever major, or jump into the crypto. I don't know. But the thing is, it's them, like, the following only materialistic stuff. But our world is slightly different. You can pursue the money. Money is important, like pay your bills, and buying a nice house is really something good to have, for sure. But to get there, I mean, designer is relatively, I would say, more pleasant way, because sometimes I think what other professions is going to look like. Let's say if you're a doctor, you 24/7, I mean, not 24/7, but no more work days, you only get to see a patients for, like, people who are sick. Like, you have to see the sick people, for ill people, all the time. Or if you're a cop, you have to meet criminals all the time. I don't want to do that. I mean, I get to see more aesthetically pleasing stuffs, or a lot of, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of process, or we're sometimes there to solve some problems that the business have. May not fun, but at least uh, I enjoy that, like, certain degrees, no matter what. So
And one more question. I was a designer too. Well, I'm still working on some kind of commercial project too, but we are going up and down all the time. Like, sometimes I love my design, and then after the constructive criticism, I was getting down to revise, or some lost my track where I can go back. So is there any kind of your way to going back to up when you're down?
oh, that's a good point, because that's something I struggle every day. ups and downs. Sometimes my methodology works, people likes it. Sometimes it goes wrong. People doesn't buying the things that I'm proposing.
Mhm.
And it, like, I don't own I don't have my own business. I work for the companies. So my job is technically rely on the companies. So I have to make them I have to produce or contribute something they were looking for, the company is looking for. So, but sometimes I'm very stressed about it, but sometimes, uh, you know, you realize that's something that you don't have to really worry about, because the thing that I learned through my journey was small wins, accumulating the small wins, and having the right direction is everything. So that's why I had the subtitle of this keynote as is attitude is everything. Because
Mhm.
if you have a good attitude, you will accumulate good small wins. And if small wins are there, your direction is going to be right. So
Thank you.
All right. Okay. Unless we don't have any further question, yeah, let's close it today. Thank you so much. It was really inspiring.
sure thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you and have a good night. It's a 1 hour later, right?
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
All right. Have a good dinner. Thank you.